In Palestine, the health ministry reported that the death toll from the continuing Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip increases to 28,663 and the number of wounded to 68,395. Argentina's President Javier Milei announced that there would not be an increase in the minimum wage for teachers. And in Belgium, amid protest, farmers blocked the freeway to Brussels on Friday, demanding higher wages and the end of the free trade agreement. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, the health ministry reported that the death toll from the continuing Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip increases to 28,663 and the number of wounded to 68,395. The ministry said in a press statement that the Israeli army killed 87 Palestinians and wounded 104 others during the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, Palestinian medical sources reported that 10 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli raid during the past few hours on the Al Zaytoun and Al Sabra neighborhoods in Gaza City. The sources added that 6 Palestinians were also killed in an Israeli airstrike and artillery bombardment on the Tal al-Satar area in the town of Havalia, north of the Gaza Strip, and the wounded were transferred to Kamal Adwan, an Indonesian hospital. The Israeli airplanes and artillery also bombed several houses in the Nusayrat, Bureish, and Maghazi refugee camps in the central Gaza Strip, killing dozens of Palestinians and wounded others. Meanwhile, patients in beds lying in the corridors of the Nasser Medical Complex in Gaza on Thursday. Nasser, the main hospital in southern Gaza, was stormed by IDF forces earlier in the day. Israeli fire killed a patient and wounded 6 others inside the complex. The Israeli army said it was a limited operation seeking the remains of hostages taken by Hamas. The raid came a day after the army sought to evacuate thousands of displaced people who had taken shelter at Nasser Hospital in the city of Khan Yunis, the focus of Israel's offensive against Hamas in recent weeks. The attacks in the Gaza Strip by the Israeli occupying forces in Palestine have triggered a humanitarian catastrophe with shortages of basic necessities and severe impact on infants, young children and their parents. While international and local agencies report that products such as diapers and infant formula are hard to find or reach unaffordable prices, Palestinians are seeking ways to subsist in the face of Israeli genocide. In this way, Palestinian officials note that a small factory in the town of Rafah is providing a release for families struggling with economic hardship by offering an affordable solution to a critical need for baby diapers. In this regard, Maisa Al-Katati, director of the factory, explained they produce around 500 pieces every day, although the director acknowledges that they do not meet the high demand. In this regard, Al-Katati pointed out that a pack of Pampers can cost up to $70 and the equivalent product they make is worth a maximum of $10.
The idea came to us from the needs of the people in the market. People were looking for Pampers and could not find them. They will buy it in a very high price. We can keep up with the high demand from people. We prepare 500 pieces every day, which is what our tailors can make, and we cannot keep up because the price is cheaper than what is on the market. You can find his stuff in the market, and the packet of Pampers is sold for about 280 shekels. We sell it for 40 or 20 shekels, which is something people can afford.
In Lebanon, Hezbollah leader Sayed Hassan Nasrallah gave a speech on Friday to commemorate the anniversary of the martyred leaders of the resistance. In his remarks, the Secretary General of the Lebanese Islamic Resistance Movement, Hezbollah, stressed that the sacrifices of the resistance movement do not arise from an emotional state or a temporary reaction, but rather from awareness, perception, and knowledge of the objectives. Nasrallah pointed out that the Israeli aggression that took place in Nabatieh and Sawaneh is an event that must be stopped in the current confrontation because it targets civilians. According to the senior Hezbollah official, the enemy's aim in killing civilians is to put pressure on the resistance to stop, because all the pressure since October 7th was aimed at stopping the southern front. The Greek and Palestinian governments insist on finding alternatives to stop Israel's invasion of the Gaza Strip and ensure access to humanitarian aid. Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki, in talks with his counterpart from Greece, stated that lack of aid due to the blockade and restrictions imposed by Israel. He indicated that the idea of the Israeli regime is to expel all Palestinians abroad. Al-Maliki also referred to the increase of violence in the West Bank, calling for an immediate ceasefire.
For us, this is very important, and that's why we talked about how to stop the invasion of Rafah. We talked about how to bring humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, which is certainly scarce because of the barriers and conditions that Israel puts on the entry of such aid. And this aid must enter in large quantities and must enter all areas, including the northern part of the Gaza Strip. We talk about preventing displacement, regardless of its names. This displacement that aims to drive the Palestinian people out of the Gaza Strip abroad.
United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, warns about the lack of social protection to children in low-income countries. Globally, 1.4 billion children aged 0 to 15 lack any form of social protection, leaving them vulnerable to disease, poor nutrition, and poverty, according to new data released by the International Labour Organization, Save the Children, and UNICEF. In low-income countries, less than 1 in 10 children in this age group have access to child benefits, highlighting a significant disparity compared to the coverage enjoyed by children in high-income countries. Child benefits are a critical form of social protection intended to promote the long-term well-being of children. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Friday, Argentina's President Javier Milei announced that there would not be an increase in the minimum wage for teachers, nor would there be a negotiation of an increase in payments to cope up with inflation. In this way, President Milei assured that he does not intend to sign a decree to update the minimum wage. For his part, he emphasized that it is a matter that has to be addressed by the workers with their employers, indicating that the teacher's salary depends on each province. On the other hand, Milei alleged that inflation is being brought down and speculated that in the first 2 weeks of February the index could be 10%. It should be noted that the vice governors of Buenos Aires, Catamarca, La Rioja, Jujuy, and other territories have expressed their disagreement with the measures taken by the new administration in their nation, in particular suspending the payment of National Fund for Teaching initiatives. In that order, the Argentine Energy Secretariat published new bill charts for energy consumption with increases ranging from 65 and 150% in the province of Buenos Aires. The Argentine National Electricity Regulator assured that the increases are to warranty service standards in view of the need for investment. These increases are in addition to those of public transportation services and food, whose prices have been constantly rising since President Javier Milei took office in December 2023. After the end of the Wage Council meeting, Argentina still don't agree to raise the minimum wage. Now it is expected that the government of Javier Milei will define by decree the new income of the workers. In view of this measure, the businessmen represented by the Industrial Union and the Confederation of Medium-Sized Companies rejected the union's proposal to increase the minimum wage, while the Workers' Union proposed an increase of 85% as from February 1st. In the framework of the 32nd International Book Fair being held in Havana, Cuba, Brazilian agronomist and former FAO Director General José Graciano da Silva highlighted the importance of the international cooperation in favor of achieving food security ahead of the presentation of his book on Brazilian Dr. José de Castro and his fight against hunger.
Facing a very difficult moment on food security, due to the pressure of the embargo of the United States of America. And we hope that Brazil can collaborate a bit more, not only feeding people here. Brazil has surplus of food, all kinds of food, staple food, milk, meat, so we could be more cooperative. After all, the idea of José de Castro was that hunger could be defeated with international cooperation. So we firmly believe that a book in this event talking about the importance of hunger for international cooperation will help not only Brazil but also Cuba.
In other news, on Thursday, members of opposed parties to Macky Sall's government were released from prison in Senegal amid a political crisis gripping the country. In this regard, the African nation is expecting the Senegalese president to take action to appease public opinion after intense protests and international concern following his decision earlier this month to delay presidential elections. It should be noted that during the demonstrations, at least 3 people died as a result of police brutality. Precisely, various opposition and civil groups issued new calls for demonstrations on Friday and Saturday.
Sí, estoy muy orgulloso y puedo
Yes,
decir que
I'm
es
very
una
proud
liberación
and I
muy
can say
merecida,
that it's a
porque
very
me digo a mí
well-deserved
mismo que
release
no hice
because
nada,
I tell myself that I did
absolutamente nada.
nothing,
Me encontraron en mi
absolutely
casa,
nothing.
me
They
arrestaron,
found
me
me in
dieron
my house,
razones
they arrested
inexistentes,
me,
lo
they
cual
gave
es
me non-existent
inconcebible
reasons,
en un
which is
país
inconceivable
democrático.
in a democratic
Exigimos la
country.
liberación de
We
nuestros
demand the release
camaradas,
of our comrades.
pedimos la
We demand
liberación
the
de
release
todos
of
los
our political
detenidos
detainees,
políticos,
specifically of
específicamente del
President
presidente
Ousmane Sonko,
Ousmane Sonko,
Bassirou Diomaye,
Diomaye
and others.
y otros.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva continues his tour around African countries and arrived in Ethiopia with the purpose of strengthening bilateral relations. After completing his agenda in Egypt, the president was received by the Ethiopian Chancellor Taye Aske Selassie, with whom he discussed issues of common and multilateral interests. Lula da Silva is expected to attend as a guest at the 37th Assembly of the African Union to be held on February 17th and 18th in Addis Ababa. Brazil's Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that President Lula is expected to address several topics during his trip, including the fight against inequality and hunger, the energy transition, climate change, reform of international institutions, and the expansion of trade between Brazil and African nations. At least a dozen people have been killed and 16 others kidnapped by armed groups at a mining site in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Armed groups attacked a gold mine on Wednesday near the Dujug district of Ituri province. Violence has intensified in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where conflicts have erupted for decades. More than 120 armed groups clash in the region, most over land and control of mines containing rare earth minerals such as cobalt and copper, which are in high demand for the manufacture of electric vehicles, wind turbines, and solar panels. Representatives of local right groups expressed outrage at the violence of these events. In Belgium, amid protests, farmers blocked the freeway to Brussels on Friday, demanding higher wages and the end of the free trade agreement. Belgian farmers have been organizing similar actions across the country. The farmers' sector blocked the freeway to Brussels as part of the street actions that, for several weeks, forced the diversion of automobile traffic along this road artery to demand higher wages and the end of the free trade agreement due to the agreements between the government and the farmers' organizations are insufficient. However, the talks continue with a view to ending the demonstrations. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In India, dozens of farmers traveling to the city of New Delhi on Friday were repressed by the political authorities. Indian farmers clashed with police officers at the border of Sambhu, Haryana, who blocked their entry to New Delhi with tear gas. Meanwhile, the farmers are camping near the Sambhu border, 200 kilometers from New Delhi. Farmers in the state of Haryana and Punjab also staged protests at the toll booth of the main highways with the support of some trade unions. South Korean trainee doctors threatened to resign, opposing a government plan to drastically increase the number of people who can seek a medical degree in a move that could shake the healthcare system. Interns and residents at 5 major general hospitals groups, including Seoul National University Hospital, plan to submit their letters of resignation en masse on Monday and walk off the job at 6 a.m. the following day. This action due to the purpose from the government of increasing the current enrollment capacities university offering medical degrees with the addition of 2,000 more slots to reverse a shortage of doctors. The labor action could lead to disruptions in surgeries and prompt a wider collective action among more than 12,000 other senior doctors in the same labor group. The local media in Myanmar on Friday reported that thousands of people are seeking to leave the country following the announcement of mandatory military service. In this sense, locals line up at the Thai embassy in Yangon with the intention of leaving the country after the announcement of the new measure. Meanwhile, the country's military said last weekend it would enforce a law that will allow all men between the ages of 18 and 35 and women between the ages of 18 and 27 to serve in military roles for at least 2 years. The law was drafted in 2010 but was never exercised, and it is unclear how it will be enforced now.
I am thinking of starting my own business, and I have a mother and siblings to support because I am the eldest son in my family. But now, this military service law is coming up. Our economy is already falling. If I have to go to the army, my whole family will have a hard time.
In Philippines, on Friday, members of a fraternity of a university in Manila held an annual naked run through the campus to protest against the proposed constitutional reform. In this context, with nothing but hoods and masks, about a dozen members of the Alpha Phi Omega group took part in the mobilization, symbolizing their selfless offering to the nation and aiming to denounce President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s plan to amend the 1987 Constitution in order to remove term limits so as to prolong his stay in power. On the other hand, the administration of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has denied this claim, stating that it only wants the Constitution to be amended to remove restrictions on foreign investments. Hong Kong cracked on Friday its biggest money laundering case ever, with approximately $1.7 million involved. Hong Kong officials declared that it was a large-scale transnational money laundering syndicate, where evidence from jewels to bank accounts details were present packed in plastic bags. The head of the Customs Financial Investigation Bureau said that some of the money flowing through the accounts is connected to online scams originated in India. 7 people have been arrested so far in connection with this case. Hong Kong still has easy international banking and business regulations, which make it possible to set up and operate without a lot of red tape. On Thursday, the last all-element rehearsal for the opening ceremony of the upcoming 14th National Winter Games was held in Ulumbur City, North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. After a 4-year delay due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the great event in China will kick off on Saturday. Due to the cold weather, the opening ceremony will take place indoors at the speed skating arena. To showcase a more diverse range of elements within the limited space, the planning team has opted to utilize various visual mediums such as floor screen, standing screens, and overhead circular projection. The opening ceremony will feature well-known inner songs, ball dance, and traditional Mongolian Andai dance, wrestling, and horsehead fiddle performance, which are expected to deliver a rich ethnic charm to audience. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.